Welcome back to the COVID report. I'm Jeffrey Chen, and holy shit, I actually had the motivation to make another one of these. A lot has happened this past week, from coronavirus cases surging, to Kanye announcing his run for president, to 4th of July bringing out a large number of people in some areas. The last of which answers the question, what if besides fireworks we could also get coronavirus cases to explode? And that brings us nicely to our first segment, the 4th of July, aka Independence Day or Mera Exit. The only time of the year where you can play the game, are those fireworks I'm hearing, or is it me who's about to get lit up? This past Saturday brought yet another day of patriotism, except this time coupled with the knowledge that patriotic social gatherings may result in deaths. But that didn't stop people from celebrating and gathering around to celebrate America like it's 1776 and we're telling the British to fuck off. It's like if the Boston Massacre happened all over again, except this time without the British and with exponentially more stupidity. I, however, spent 4th of July alone in my room, so really I was fully embracing Independence Day. But moving on to coronavirus. You may remember that last week we talked about masks, as well as how the symptoms of getting coronavirus and meeting Daniel Radcliffe are pretty much interchangeable. Shortness of breaths, chills, and body aches? While masks are a critical part of our fight against coronavirus, along with social distancing and failing all our online classes, there's one thing that the media loves to talk about.
What about on vaccines? Where do we stand as far as companies and their human trials?
Many are certainly putting their hope in the pandemic coming to an end with a vaccine.
I think we expect to have vaccine available, produced, and on the shelf of some warehouse by the fourth quarter of this year.
And we are on track to produce a vaccine in record time and very, very soon. It's going to be announced, I believe, very, very soon.
Yes, vaccines. The coronavirus vaccine has been hyped up by the media as an easy fix to coronavirus. Now, I'm not here to talk about whether vaccines work, because they do. Believing that vaccines don't work is like believing that the earth is flat, or that Kanye should run for president. A side note, how many Kanyes does it take to screw in a light bulb? No one knows, he just holds it straight up and waits for the world to revolve around him. Today we're going to talk about what it takes to create a vaccine for a pandemic on this scale, how we would deploy it, and some of the risks that rushing a vaccine holds. Because there are risks. When you're creating a vaccine, you're basically like Thanos.
He used the virus to destroy the virus.
Except instead of trying to wipe out half of all life, you're trying to save everyone while causing as much emotional trauma to toddlers as possible. Vaccines basically use the whole virus, whether inactive or dead, or parts of the virus to get the immune system to memorize the virus in case the host is actually exposed to them. Unlike watching Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, where the more you watch it, the more dangerous your reaction becomes. Oh god, kill it with fire! What kind of wimpy-ass fire was that? Now, America's initiative is called Operation Warp Speed, which, despite sounding like a code name for what a Star Trek fan would call losing their virginity, is our plan to accelerate the distribution and development of the coronavirus vaccine. Now, I'm not going to talk about the economic aspects of Operation Warp Speed. There's a lot to talk about, and I failed AP Macroeconomics. What I am going to say is that the US is spending a lot of money on a vaccine, at least $10 billion worth. So where does that money go towards? Well, there are three parts to an effective vaccine: development, production, and distribution. Not to be confused with production, development, and distribution, which are the three steps to create an effective Asian child. They might not have a social life, but they will get those A's. Help. Let's begin with development, which brings up the first challenges to a vaccine. In order to vaccinate the general public, we have to create one first, which can take months or even years. The process involves animal testing, human testing, and eventually comparing the results of a control group with individuals who received the potential vaccine. In all, testing and certifying a vaccine will require tens of thousands of humans, which you can visualize by imagining the amount of people who can fit in a football stadium or the amount of people in 10,000 Kid Rock concerts. It's his mom. She's a very dedicated woman. And rushing a vaccine, much like rushing a fraternity or an AP Lit presentation, can lead to deaths. In 1955, a polio vaccine caused 70,000 kids to get that disease. And that's horrible. You shouldn't be getting a disease from what's supposed to protect you from that disease. That's like if being born a guy automatically brought Harvey Weinstein to your front door. And once the development of the vaccine is over, it comes time for mass production and distribution. And that's no easy task. America has 382 million people and one Mitch McConnell, who as a total will require an extra vaccine because his bloodstream runs at the same pace of Jell-O. And creating more than 300 million doses of a vaccine is no easy task, and that's assuming that each person only needs one vaccination for the coronavirus. Right now, most vaccine developers are contemplating 2 shots, the first for the body to recognize the virus, and a month later, a second to strengthen the immune response. Think of it like taking the SAT. You do it the first time to recognize the danger you're in, wait a month, and then a second time to build character. With potentially 600 plus million vaccines needed to be produced here in the US, we better hope that we have the capacity to do so, but that might not be the case. No single company can manufacture all those doses, and we also may need to manufacture more than one type of vaccine. To help, the federal government is signing billion-dollar contracts with pharmaceutical companies so we can produce as much as soon as possible. But even if we manage to produce all these doses, how are we going to distribute them? Well, no one is exactly sure, but it's definitely going to be hard. Experts have suggested using the US military and the current flu vaccine distribution system. And that's great, but the government needs to establish that infrastructure now before the vaccine comes out, not once it comes out. There's a real risk of artificial vaccine shortages if we can't distribute enough doses. And we don't want a coronavirus vaccine to be so rare that the only way you can get it is by locating the golden egg during an Easter egg hunt. And vaccines do more than just protect ourselves. They protect others as well, particularly the vulnerable. And that brings us to herd immunity. Not to be confused with herd immunity, which is what happens when you listen to Fergie's national anthem more than once. I just still can't hear anything anymore. Herd immunity is the concept that by vaccinating as many people as possible, those people would serve as buffers for people who can't be vaccinated, like the immunocompromised. Since the coronavirus spreads from person to person, decreasing the amount of people who can get infected will protect the overall population, which means that once the vaccine does come out, everyone who can should go get vaccinated. Those who can't receive vaccines are going to need that protection, which is why it can be so infuriating to see people straight up refuse to vaccinate.
God made our immune systems perfect and healthy. He has given everything that we need on this earth to stay healthy. I do not feel that He meant for us to use vaccines to keep us healthy.
The Holy Spirit indwells within you. So if you're carrying the living God within you, to defile that or damage that body would be a sin against our God.
For me personally, it has nothing to do with the science or debating the science of vaccines. The parent should have the ability to decide whether or not their child takes medicine or receives an injection. It's about liberty.
Please, don't conflate patriotism with refusing to vaccinate. Not vaccinating your kid doesn't make you Alexander Hamilton. Plus, Hamilton was what we call an anti-vaxxer. When he said he was not going to throw away his shot, he was actually trying to increase colonial America's herd immunity. Then he died because Aaron Burr misinterpreted the lyrics and shot him. But all of this is in the future. Right now there are promising results, but there still aren't any vaccines available to the general public. Which means that before one is created, we have to continue fighting coronavirus the hard way. And look, I want the vaccine to be out as much as anyone else does. I myself haven't seen my friends for a whole 2 years. Quarantine sucks, and it's really appealing to think of vaccines as a quick and easy solution to all our problems. But we have to be ready for the reality that the vaccine may not be out for months, and until then, we have to continue doing what we have. Masks, social distancing, and being a Star Trek fan. Hey, you don't have to worry about social distancing if no one ever talks to you. But moving on, here to talk about those affected by quarantine is the COVID Report's very own correspondent, Jeffery Chen. Jeffrey? Thanks, Jeffrey. As quarantine continues on into the summer, teenagers around the world are figuring out ways to stay productive. I spoke with Jeff, an incoming freshman at college this fall, to see how he is balancing productivity with staying inside. Thank you for joining me, Jeff. Thank you for having me. So tell me, are you staying productive during this unprecedented summer? Yes, I am. He is not. It appears as if this teenager is as productive as the French government was during World War II. To find out more, I followed Jeff through his day-to-day activities. Yeah, so I usually get up around 6 o'clock in the morning. What time is it?
It's 1:58 p.m.
Brush my teeth. And then eat breakfast. But Jeff, if you roll back tapes, which we have, you would see that your meals seem to comprise of only Starbursts and bananas. So yeah, after my first healthy meal of the day, I just, go and do some exercise. As you know, exercise is critical to being physically fit and staying healthy during quarantine. What kinds of exercises do you do? You know, pull-ups, push-ups, yeah, running, you know. Yes! All those like things that like people do when they're exercising. As Jeff's current physical ability is comparable with my great aunt's current physical ability, who is currently dead, I decided to help Jeff with his first ever pull-up. Come on, give 120%! I may have gotten a little too involved. God damn it! Ah! Developing new skills and new talents is something that really can help motivate people like me who are really driven to get through quarantine. So what I've been practicing is singing. I compare myself to like the greats, you know, like what's her name? Oh, like, you know, Fergie singing the national anthem. You know, I'm at that level, you know. I'm pretty proud of where I am now because I've been working, you know, really hard. As this act of musical terrorism continues, I sat down with Jeff's friends to talk about how they feel he is dealing with quarantine. So tell me, as a friend of Jeff, how would you say that he is handling quarantine? It seems as if they had nothing to say. Really, the trick to quarantine is pretty simple. It's just like pretending that you're on a boat. You gotta take care of yourself or, you know, you're gonna sink or something. So yeah, you just gotta try to like keep your head above water and you'll make it through. But it appears as if he was as good as keeping his head above water as Leonardo DiCaprio was in the movie Titanic. I found him later that day, fully clothed and sitting in the shower. Really, everything is going completely fine. I'm Jeffrey Chen, signing out. Well, he's definitely not going to make it through quarantine. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of the COVID Report. Isn't it great to know that while you wait for a vaccine, you can wait for the next best thing, another episode of the COVID Report that no one asked for? Remember, if you like this video, make sure to spread it around, maybe it'll go viral. But for now, I'm Jeffrey Chen. Get vaccinated, social distance, and may God save us all.